Have you ever stared at your study table for 30 minutes and then stood up without opening a single book? Yeah, that used to be me. I wasn't lazy. I just couldn't start. I didn't know how. Every time I sat down to study, my brain screamed, "Let's check Instagram first. Let's watch one video before we start. You can do it later. You have time." And just like that, 3 hours disappeared. Not because I was stupid, not because I didn't care, but because my brain, just like yours, was trained to run away from boredom. Let's get real for a second. You were never taught how to study. You were taught how to sit still and memorize. You were told, study hard and you'll succeed. But no one told you how to make your brain want it. Let me ask you something dangerous. What if your brain has been sabotaging you this whole time? And what if that's not even your fault? What if the reason you can't focus, can't sit still, can't even remember what you just read, has nothing to do with motivation and everything to do with how your brain was wired by your environment? Because here's the truth. We live in a world designed to destroy your focus. Apps, ads, videos, games. They're not entertainment. They're weapons. They are engineered, literally engineered, to hijack your attention and make you addicted to instant dopamine. So when you open a book, your brain panics. It's like, where's the reward? Where's the excitement? Why is this so boring? Your brain isn't broken. It's just been hacked. And now it's time to hack it back. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I tricked my brain into studying for hours, without stress, without pressure, and without needing motivation. No Pomodoro, no spaced repetition, no study with me aesthetics. This is real, and it works. Because once you understand how your brain actually functions, you stop forcing it, and you start leading it. What I'm about to show you will feel strange. It will go against everything school ever taught you. But by the end of this video, you'll know how to rewire your brain to love studying, the same way it loves scrolling on TikTok. And when that clicks, everything changes. So if you're tired of trying harder and still failing, if you're done feeling guilty after another unproductive day, then don't skip a second of this video, because the next few minutes, they might just reprogram your future. Let's begin. 1. The incomplete task switch, the Zeigarnik trigger. There's a weird phenomenon in psychology called the Zeigarnik effect. Here's what it means. Your brain is hardwired to remember unfinished tasks more than completed ones. That's why cliffhangers in TV shows work. That's why open tabs in your browser give you anxiety. And that's why your brain keeps coming back to incomplete puzzles, unfinished sentences, half-told stories. So I thought, what if I could use this effect against my own procrastination? Here's what I did. Every time I ended a study session, I left it incomplete on purpose. If I was solving a math problem, I'd stop halfway through it. If I was reading a chapter, I'd stop mid-paragraph. If I was summarizing, I'd leave the last 3 bullet points blank. Why? Because now my brain had an open loop, an unresolved itch, and the only way to scratch it was to come back. It sounds weird. It sounds manipulative, because it is. But guess what? The next day, I wanted to open that book. My brain wasn't resisting anymore. It was obsessed with finishing what I started. I turned studying into a mental cliffhanger. 2. The 3-zone flow map. Warm up your brain like an athlete. Your brain isn't a light switch. You don't go from scrolling TikTok to deep study mode instantly. That's a trap. What your brain needs is a ramp. So I created a structure I call the 3-zone flow map. A simple but deadly effective way to enter deep focus without trying. Zone 1. Low-energy tasks, the bait. This is where I trick my brain into saying yes. I'd start with something so easy, my brain didn't resist. Simple stuff like reviewing yesterday's notes, organizing my study space, highlighting already understood text. This wasn't studying, it was momentum building. And my brain loved the win. Zone 2. Real work, the trap. Now that my brain was warmed up, I slipped into real work, solving new problems, reading difficult chapters, writing practice essays. But because I didn't start here, I didn't face that wall of resistance. My brain was already moving. Zone 3, unfinished curiosity, the hook. And then, before ending, I'd plant a seed. I'd leave a question unanswered. I'd circle a confusing concept. I'd highlight something I didn't fully get. Why? So my brain would keep thinking about it after I shut the book. It sounds manipulative, it is, but it makes studying magnetically addictive. You're not forcing yourself anymore. You're building a loop. 3. Rewiring pleasure. The dopamine detour. Now let's talk about the monster in the room. Dopamine. Every scroll, like, video, message, gives your brain a little dopamine hit. So naturally, studying, which gives you delayed rewards, feels painful. Here's how I hacked that. I stopped rewarding the results and started rewarding the process. Here's what I did differently. After a 25-minute session, I wouldn't reward myself with a break. I'd reward myself with a tiny win screen, just like a video game. I'd check off boxes, see visual progress, mark XP points. I added sound design, a little ding sound after every completed session. My brain began to associate that sound with accomplishment. I kept a wall chart, a visible streak of days studied. Not for guilt, for pride. You see, dopamine isn't evil, but you have to train your brain to crave your goals, not your escapes. I was literally reprogramming my reward system. And the results? Shocking. I stopped waiting for motivation. I started craving study sessions the same way I craved scrolling. 4. Frictionless design, make distraction painful. Here's a brutal truth. Your willpower is weak. Mine too. So I stopped relying on it. Instead, I made distractions harder to access and studying easier to start. I logged out of YouTube on my study laptop. I used a grayscale screen filter to kill color dopamine. I used website blockers, but not just timers, password-protected apps with my friend holding the key. Now, every time I wanted to procrastinate, I had to fight for it. Meanwhile, my books were right there, open, ready. I was training my brain to take the path of least resistance, and slowly, that path became studying. Mini conclusion, 11:30 plus. So let's recap what really happened. I didn't study harder. I didn't get more disciplined. I didn't download another study app. I simply outsmarted my own brain. I used its loopholes against itself. And now, studying doesn't feel like pain. It feels like flow. Because once you trick your brain into curiosity, dopamine, and momentum, you're not fighting anymore. You're gliding. And if I can do it, after years of failing, quitting, and restarting, you definitely can too. Now, take a deep breath, and let me ask you something. What if all this time, it wasn't you who was lazy, but the system you were using that was broken? What if no one ever taught you that your brain isn't built to obey? It's built to be seduced. You don't need more pressure. You need more precision. You don't need to force yourself to study. You need to trick your brain into wanting to. Because once you do that, studying doesn't feel like a chore. It becomes a game you start to win. But listen, this isn't just about grades or passing exams. This is about power, mental power, and once you know how to manipulate your own mind, you become dangerous in the best way. People will wonder how you stay so focused, how you sit for hours, undistracted, how you're outperforming without burning out. But they won't understand what you now do. You're not fighting your brain, you're using it. You've stepped out of the loop of guilt and into the loop of control, and that changes everything. So here's my challenge to you. Don't just try these hacks. Experiment with them, customize them, make them yours. Build your flow ritual, train your dopamine map, create your identity loop, and slowly you'll realize it's not even about studying anymore. It's about becoming the version of yourself you always knew was in there. The one that's not held back by fear, boredom, or distraction. The one who doesn't just study for hours, but enjoys every second of it. That's what happens when you finally stop chasing motivation and start controlling the machine. Your machine, your mind. The game has changed, and now you control it.